Continuing with the Proverbs from chapter 11, verse 18. The wicked works a deceitful work, but to him that sows righteousness shall be sure reward. So this is very interesting that if you think about the deceitful work, many times we think something of very really wicked and really bad, and something that those people who rob and do steal and do all kind of stuff. But actually I think that it's something that any kind of scheming, that trying to do things quicker, faster, cut corners, even though, and many times we would justify those things. But to sow righteousness, I think it's something that you do things correctly and speak about it in that manner, that you don't lead people on in a wrong direction, that you say certain things and then you follow through with that as well, and that's sowing righteousness. And when the people see that your actions align with your words, then you get a reward. That people will honor that and they will come behind it and they will support that. So whether you do something, people will respect that. You can get other people come behind the vision maybe God has given you, or God will give you a vision because you're doing that, and maybe you get some leadership position. But then there will be trust, and there will be possible to build things better, correcter, more correct way. But it's very interesting thing in terms of deceitful work, and in terms of wickedness. It might be that you're doing things right, but you don't communicate that because you don't want persecution. What do I mean by that? Is that if you do things right and you're communicating what you're doing, it puts pressure on those who are not doing it. And then you might get persecution. And that's one thing, people think that's humility, but then people don't know what it takes to get where you went. So somebody would want to know, okay, what does it take to build whatever business, what it takes to make $1 million, what it takes to be a minister. But if you are a minister or if you are a millionaire and you don't share your disciplines, your habits, your path to the other individuals, then it's also wickedness, because you're not sowing righteousness in terms of you don't share what you're doing. This is what you've done, this is what resulted, this kind of if you did certain things that caused trouble or problems, but then in this way you overcome. So that's also can be seen as wickedness, because you keep certain information for yourself in order two ways. One thing is you don't want competition, other thing you don't want persecution. And the first thing is the greed motivation, another one is fear motivation. Because when we share things how it is, if we see hey, this is actually working, and we share it, so one thing, some people will come behind it, that's great, but some people will slander it. And the reason for slandering is because they're lazy. Lazy and lukewarm people will come and slander because they need to justify their laziness. And that's the thing, that who's maybe even some people who done lots of things in the past, but then they start glorying into it and they fall away from the work of God in whatever form it is. Some people call for business, some people call for ministry, but either way, I assume that if you listen to this point, you're doing God's work and you want to know, get God's wisdom for its accomplishment. So, and one of the key elements is actually share the disciplines, the habits, the work ethic, anything needed for accomplishing what the God used to accomplish through you. And that has to be shared for anybody who's striving or going after the same kind of results, or they feel that God called them to get the same kind of results. So then that's what is important to share, and not to withhold the information, even though you think that it's nice to have a friend But if I share, they might feel it's too much pressure and they kind of withdraw. So then we will withhold information. But then it's also leading them on and eventually get frustrated. If you don't share the information that needs to be shared, you will get frustrated. If the person, at first you kind of hang around, it's nice, you're friends, but then you see that, okay, this person doesn't realize what it takes to for instance, you would like to be a business partner or a ministry partner, but they're not, you feel like they might not be willing to take a step, but you don't know. That's assumption. You have to say what probably will be required of them and what might be down the road, and then need to evaluate, are they willing to take that kind of risk, or they take that kind of step? God is calling them to take this kind of risk or step? And then you'll find out when you get there. So sometimes it's by trial and error. You never know. Things might come up to surface, and then we deal when they come. But sometimes when we want to equip somebody, and they say they want to partner together, well, are they up to the par where God is leading you? Because you don't want that they will fall off or break away, and when the going gets tough. So, for instance, when Paul, there is one example of that. There was Paul going with some person. I think it was John Mark, who actually I think wrote the Gospel of Mark. And he fall away. He got scared. He fall away, and then actually Barnabas wanted to take him again, but Paul's like, no way, I'm not taking him. He falter once. I don't want anybody who will falter. But Barnabas said like, no, and they had a huge disputation. And actually, Paul and Barnabas set ways because of Barnabas really wanted to take John Mark, but Paul didn't, and the disputation was so hard that they went different directions. So I don't know which side to take on, but I think that it was God's will for them to set ways, set apart. Barnabas already raised up Paul, basically. I don't know if people even think about it, but actually Barnabas is the one who raised up Paul from nothing. Paul got kind of retreated, he got forgotten, and Barnabas went and find him up. You can read in the book of Acts, and you can clearly see that Barnabas actually raised him up, took him away from finding him where he was and raised him up. But then, he needs to let go. And then basically Barnabas took John Mark as a next person to raise up. And Paul moved on, and Paul got his own disciple, basically Timothy. And then Timothy proceeded in great work of the ministry. And of course, I believe, with Barnabas, and then John Mark wrote the gospel. So I believe they also done the great work. And just Paul is way more visible in that sense. We have his letters. We don't have letters of John Mark or Barnabas. So that's why we don't know how much they have accomplished through their lifetime. Paul was just more vocal and more visible. So then we see the things that he have done. And then we prescribe many achievements to him because it's in the scriptures, but we don't know what the others have done and accomplished on the way as well. This is because Paul wrote so many things. But anyway, continuing with the verse 19, as righteousness tends to life, so he that pursues evil pursues it to his own death. So in here we can see that, if you pursue righteous ways, usually it's more difficult. Actually, sometimes it's way more difficult, especially if you live in the society that looks to evil as good, and that makes it a little bit much more difficult. But either way, even in the society, if the evil is encouraged, still righteousness will lead to life. Doesn't matter what the media says, doesn't matter what kind of leaders say. If the righteousness is pursued after, it will lead to life. And even the society encourages to pursue evil, still it leads to death. That's why we see so much death, so much suicides, and all kind of wrong things, because pursue evil is encouraged, and people just blinded, and they need to know the truth. And when they get to know the truth, they can start following the righteousness that leads to life. Verse 20, they that are of a froward heart are an abomination to the Lord, but such as are upright in their way are his delight. So it shows also, that God really enjoys when we want to follow Him, and we want to be upright in the things we're doing, and it brings Him glory, it brings Him delight. It's like a sweet savor unto the Lord when we follow the ways of the Lord in uprightness. And it doesn't mean we're going to do everything right, but we're willing to repent, we're willing to turn our ways, we're willing to change our minds. We're not fixed on specific methods or whatever. If we found out that it was wrong, we just drop it and choose God's way. But people who don't choose to drop it when they found something was wrong, well, that's called frowardness, and then it's abomination to the Lord. So, because if you think we all sometimes get fixed in certain ways that we learn from parents, from society, from schools, from whatever, but if we find out it was wrong and we're willing to repent, then we will be a sweet savor unto the Lord, and we will be delighted to His heart. So this is what I wanted to share with you today, and God bless you.